It's a wonderful sunny morning in Fuengirola, and it's lovely, and I've got Claire Voet with me. Claire, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, Lee.
Jolly good. Now, we talked before
We did, indeed.
about Whittington Manor,
Yeah.
and at that point there was a book on the way out
Yeah,
called The Ghost of Bluebell Cottage,
that's correct.
which is now out.
It is, yes. It is out.
Can you tell us just a little bit about it? Because I know it's quite a fascinating story, isn't it?
It is. Where do we start? Okay. It's basically about... we've got two storylines going on at the same time. Okay? We've got back in the 17th century, and we've got modern times. Now, it's a love story, but not just a love story, a very different love story, and they're running parallel together.
Okay.
We've got two herbalists, two sisters, who were around in the 17th century, and this was at a time where the Civil War was, very at its most, and the story is set in Dorset around Corfe Castle. There was a witch finder who was out and about getting rid of people who he thought were so-called witches, so
Right.
they were caught up in that. And then the story then continues into modern time, where two characters are brought together through strange dreams, things that are leading them back to a past life in the 17th century, and it's then that they realise who they were and why they were brought together again now in this life. So it certainly is a love story with a difference.
Okay, so this one is based around the village of Corfe,
It is, yeah, Corfe Castle, yeah.
but there's also a big love story in there as well, isn't there?
It is, yeah. It's literally people that were in love once in the 17th century, and a terrible tragedy happened to them. They were separated, and it's kind of a story of reincarnation, really. They came back into modern time and found each other again.
So, when you get inspiration for books like this, do you have to be in a certain place, or is it something which you just sort of feel, I know this place, I'm going to write about it? Because you actually grew up around there, didn't you?
I for a few years, I lived in the Dorset area. I didn't exactly grow up there because I grew up in Portsmouth, but I did live for 6 years in the Dorset area as a little girl, and I can remember going to visit Corfe Castle and completely, absolutely in awe of it. It's just ruins, really, now, but it's got an atmosphere around it. It's just very, very intriguing. So when I knew the story, The Ghost of Bluebell Cottage, I knew what I wanted to write, but I had to set it somewhere that would be appealing and fit in with the storyline. And Corfe Castle obviously came to me, and I sort of, based it on that.
So did you actually go back to Corfe to write the book?
No, my mind did, though.
I find this absolutely fascinating. You actually wrote a whole book about somewhere that you'd seen when you were a kid, but
Yeah.
you haven't been back to. And yet, you were saying just a little bit earlier on, before we started chatting on here, that certain elements are absolutely 100% true today.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Obviously comes from a subconscious level. I did a lot of research, obviously, in the internet as well. I went through to the National Trust, who are in Corfe Castle, spoke to them about the Civil War, spoke to them about Lady Mary Banks as well, who was in power and looking after, well, she lived and reigned the castle during that time in the 17th century, so obviously I had a lot of inside knowledge about the 17th century then. But Corfe, I just wrote about it as I remembered as a child, and I don't think it's changed an awful lot, grown maybe, but certainly how I felt.
Right. Now, just looking at the book itself, I mean, it's a fabulous looking book. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
You say that the inspiration for it comes from within. Do you suddenly get a sort of boost and think, oh, I've got to write this down?
Yeah. What happens really is that you get an idea. You have an idea, and then it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you have to find all the pieces that go in the middle. You kind of know where you're going to go with it. You kind of know what you're going to do. Lovely thing about any writer will tell you this. The lovely thing about starting a new story is that you invent characters. So in a sense, you're playing God. Yeah? You're inventing a character, and then you're deciding what you're going to do with them. And bringing in characters, they build and they grow with you along the story, and it just comes to you in bits and bobs, That's how it happens.
One thing I've got to ask you is, how much do you base your characters on real people?
Good one. I never take a character and build them specifically on a person. I take elements of their personality, yeah? Someone will remind me of somebody, for example, but it literally is just sort of fictional, really, how I think they would be.
Okay, now, do you feel you're a prolific writer? I can't even say it.
Prolific writer, yeah, probably.
The reason why I ask that is I know you've got another book on the way and another one in the process of being done, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I like writing, so for me it's a way of channeling my thoughts. Ghost of Bluebell Cottage came out at the end of the summer. The Other Daddy will be coming out in the spring, March, April time, and I'm just drafted the synopsis for Whittington Manor 2.
Oh wow, that's going to be good.
Yeah, the much awaited Whittington Manor 2.
Now, all of these books carry a sort of spiritual element. Do you think you're a spiritual person?
I like to think I am, yeah.
And do you think that spirit has in some way guided you in writing these books, or is it just something which is inside your head?
I think we've all got a spirit inside of us. It's knowing whether to channel into it or not.
Oh, that's deep.
Whether we're opening up to it.
Okay.
I open up to it when I'm writing. Not so much when I'm not, but when I'm writing, it flows, it comes to me. So yes, I do believe that it is a spiritual level that's guided me on the writing.
Now, when you're writing books like, say, the one about Corfe, the Bluebell Cottage, do you find that you're looking into these things and you can almost see them when you're writing about them? You know, you actually feel the existence of these people and things. Yeah.
When you write, I think most authors will tell you the same. You see it as images in front of you. It's like watching a movie. Mm-hmm. It's like watching a trailer to a movie. They come to you in flashes, the best parts. You know, the grabbers, the teasers that you watch on TV and you think, God, I've got to watch that. That looks so good. Yeah, that's what it's like when you're writing a story. You see the teasers and then it's up to you as the writer to write the whole script and write the whole book. That's how it is.
Children play.
people who can describe characters, because the one thing that you find quite often is somebody will be very, very character heavy and they describe them in minute detail. Others just do very, very fleeting little descriptions. But yours are quite fascinating, aren't they?
Thank you.
Is it something which you've actually perfected, a way of describing people?
I think you've got to be careful. When you're writing a book, it's very different from script writing. As you know, I've done a bit of script writing as well, and I think you've got to be careful, because you've got to portray what you want the reader to feel and think. But however, you can't take away their fun either. So you can maybe say what colour hair they've got or what colour eyes they've got, but you don't have to. What's the most important thing is the personality, and that comes through a lot of the time in the dialogue. So when you're writing and you're creating a character and you grow with that character, you actually you feel that it's like you have to get inside their head. You have to be them and think how they would feel in that situation, what their emotions are, and that is the art of bringing over the character building.
Now, we often talk about radio as being theatre of the mind, because you paint pictures with words. But do you feel you do the same thing with your books?
You have to. Yeah, you have to with books. You really have to, because you're playing on people's imagination. People are lost in the book. I mean, the best compliment you can have is when people say, "Oh, I was reading your book and I was totally oblivious to everything around me." I recently had a review on Amazon from somebody who does London commuting, and this person took the book and read it every day while she was commuting on the train, and she wrote in the review that she was oblivious to everything around her.
Fantastic.
It completely absorbed her, and that is what you've got to do. It's like, you know, with a movie, you'll sit there and you see it all displayed in front of you, and you have the benefit of sitting down and just watching it because it's all there. With writing, you have to bring them into the book and create those images.
Now, with Manor and also with Bluebell Cottage, can you see them as TV plays, TV movies, or movies in their own right?
Absolutely, yeah. And this is something I'm working hard on to try and do. Next year, my projects are to try and move forward on the script writing and get them onto television, because I really do believe that they would be ideal.
Okay, that sort of leads me into the next bit, which is when you write one of these stories, I mean, they're quintessentially very, very British, very English. Do you find that they sell well abroad?
America, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I don't know so much, because it's early stages with The Ghost of Bluebell Cottage. It only came out at the end of the summer, and obviously I'm yet waiting to find out from my publisher how well it is doing overseas. However, I do know that Whittington Manor has been a very big success and still is a success in America, and people are buying it and enjoying it. But then again, so's Downton Abbey, which a lot of people refer to. So they like the historical, stately homes and love stories, and they like the typical British stories that we have. So that's probably why it does well.
Now, when you're researching a book like Whittington Manor, say, do you find that maybe you'll start off on one particular tack and then you think, nope, it's going in the wrong direction, stop, go back?
Yeah, there are times where you might take a character down one route and you think, shouldn't have done that because that's going to stop such and such happening in the future, so you change direction. But storyline pretty much is, I find it's in my head and I stick to the storyline. It's only little diversions that you do now and again.
Because I know that some writers actually say that they let the characters guide them. And, they don't actually... They have a beginning and an end, but no middle. And the characters write the middle for them.
That comes back to your question about spirituality.
Yeah.
I believe that writers that say that often that is the way they are guided, spiritually whilst they're writing. So, yes, that could happen.
With all the books, they have quite strong characters, don't they? They have quite positive characters.
Yeah.
Is this how you see yourself?
Yeah, I guess, characters in general, everybody and anybody, they have their positive times and they have their hard times and good times, and we all go through that. And what I try to do with each of the characters is put them through the highs and lows. So yes, they'll come across as strong because they're having so much happen to them because it's a story. Do you know what I mean? So you look at a character and you think, God, the poor woman, she went through all that.
It's almost like the EastEnders thing, isn't it? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in EastEnders.
Yeah, it's good. Well, it wouldn't be a drama otherwise, would it? I mean, it wouldn't work. Nobody wants a story that's boring where characters are always so happy and positive and nothing ever happens. You need those highs and lows.
Okay, I've got one last really nasty question for you. When you, if you ever do get 5 minutes to sit down and rest, do you ever read a book?
I do.
What sort of books do you read?
I'm a big fan of Barbara Erskine.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of historical romances as well. A few local authors in Portsmouth that I read. I just read things that, basically, the type of things that I write, I read, and I look at other authors as well. Not so much to find out what they're doing, but more it's a learning curve. You know, it's learning. It's like if you're a scriptwriter for television, you'll watch movies, or you'll watch dramas, whatever your field is in, because it's enjoyment. I don't read very much, not as much as I'd like to, but every now and again I'll pick up a book and I'll have a read through, and I'll just read a little bit every night before I go to sleep or something like that.
Okay. Now.